Daredevil is one of my favorite superheroes. Historically, he's been one of Marvel's as well. What I mean is, in publishing, Marvel has tended to put their next big writer or artist or combination thereof on Daredevil pretty consistently for about the last 40 years or so. It's a book that's had definitive runs from folks like Frank Miller, Kevin Smith, Joe Quesada, Mark Waid, Chris Samnee, Chip Zdarsky, Marco Cicchetto, and the list goes on. The 2016 Daredevil Netflix show is nothing short of incredible as well. Even the Affleck Daredevil was probably better than it generally got credit for in an era of schlocky superhero adaptations, though it wasn't perfect by any means. In many ways, that makes the current Daredevil show something of a victim of its own success. In the way that Daredevil comics often are as well, in runs that follow very legendary runs, right? Just like Matt Murdock, it's got a lot to live up to, and it stands in a very, very big shadow. So, does that mean that this iteration, Daredevil Born Again, is better, worse, or on par with the original Netflix show from 2016? We're talking Daredevil Born Again this week. I'm Dan Umpton, and this is the Doomcast. First off, do me a favor, hit subscribe and the bell. I make about one of these videos a week. They're all great, so please don't miss even one. Also, Drecker Brewing out of Fargo, North Dakota does not sponsor this, but they probably should because they're rad. Anyway, like I say, I love Daredevil as a character. Also, one of the few books I've consistently picked up over the years, regardless of the creative team, just because I like the character anyway. And like I said, the Daredevil show, the second episode pretty much solidified it. Absolutely perfect up to that point, and maybe even now, the very best Marvel Cinematic Universe media. In fact, in that era, the MCU could do no wrong. I don't know if you remember, but like 2016, it just kept cranking out hit after hit after hit, then Iron Fist, then hit after hit after hit, and then post-COVID, post-Endgame, something really did flip a switch that started with Eternals. Skip Shang-Chi, but then the Disney formula really took hold and Disneyfied the MCU. That doesn't mean it's all been bad, but it hasn't been the same. So I was definitely leery wading into Daredevil Born Again. But Daredevil Born Again might be one of the better, if not the best, of the live-action MCU streaming series. But that's not a difficult bar to pole vault blindly over, in my opinion, because most of them have been incredible episodes 1 through 3 and then fizzle pretty quickly. Their animation has been much more successful in my opinion, but not without its own minor shortcomings other than the absolutely perfect X-Men 97. That said, nothing fundamentally wrong with this show in particular, just that, like I said, it stands in the shadow of the first and third seasons of Daredevil on Netflix. But to be fair, the third season stood in the shadow of the first, so did the second. Second was fine, but in total, we got a truly incredible show out of it, right? 3 very good seasons. Nobody can argue that. Okay, minor spoilers here for the first 3 episodes, but out of the gate we get the death of Foggy Nelson. Oh, wait, that's a pretty big spoiler, but anyway, it's been out for 2 weeks. He has died in comics a lot, an awful lot. Cancer, the hand resurrection only to be a husk. I think he's been shot also. It's been a lot. But here it's tragic, emotional, because he's shot with a precision rifle at a considerable distance after a ruse, and then Bullseye shows up to finish the job with Matt at Josie's, but they end up fighting through the entire bar in, frankly, a very impressively choreographed fight that holds up. The few long shots, very good stuff, comparable to the original, right? Incredibly painful looking knife work on Bullseye's part, all over Daredevil's torso. Once Matt hears Foggy's heart stop, he throws Bullseye off of the building into the street below, 3 stories, pretty much head first, and somehow he survives to trial, and then Matt has, in that year, hung up the Daredevil mantle. Fisk has returned as well and has sort of imposed himself as a Trumpian figure, which, when they did this in comics, even then it kind of felt a little bit heavy-handed. I'm definitely the farthest thing from a Trump guy, but man, right now, I'm sorry, it feels fucking bleak and dark watching all of our public infrastructure get torn apart by a shitheel, and all of our social safety nets and worker protections and foreign policy networks and allegiances burnt to ash. And I just want to escape a little. I don't know if I can deal with social commentary on it, or if it's super heavy-handed. So whether it's this or Superman, I don't know. Even if it's an earnest, regular level, corrupt supervillain doing less than entirely evil stuff while an absolute trio of genuine psychopaths destroys 250 years of a union that seemed to, up until this point, always try to get more perfect than less. It is really an act of work to watch sometimes and not super fun. That said, D'Onofrio is perfect as Fisk. And at least they backed off by the third episode some of the Trump-ish comparisons. Vincent D'Onofrio is legitimately undersung as probably one of the greatest character actors of our time. And he's doing this, and that kind of rules. He's perfect for it. He's not wearing Hawaiian shirts. He's not hanging out in tiki bars. He's also got a fully intact eye. He's intense, intimidating, malevolent, aura cranked to 11, and it's as yet unclear what angle he's actually taking here, having run for and won the mayor's seat. Because it seems like he genuinely wants to actually do things policy-wise and not just be corrupt, but he wants that too. Anyway, he does get confronted by Ben Urich's niece, who asks some incredibly deft investigative questions in a softball meeting with Fisk that leave him a little bit rattled. Later on, he kind of uses her after the Hector Ayala case. As Matt does his best to find love in the place that he's at, somewhat estranged from his friends, he hears the news that Fisk has won the mayor's seat, and he and Fisk have this brooding matching action shot over TV on the radio. Between this and Skeleton Crew, Tunde Adebimpe is having a pretty good year with Disney, in my opinion. So second episode, Hector Ayala finds himself defending a defenseless guy. A man strangling him is hit by a passing subway train, and he realizes that that man was in fact a police officer, and now he's under arrest. Matt's team does their due diligence with his wife Soledad. Cherry, a retired cop, finds his white tiger uniform under the bed in a box. They don't really explain everything that the amulet is supposed to do for some reason. But while Matt manages to get the evidence of his client's nightlife suppressed, Fisk threatens the police commissioner to keep him from resigning, then enters into couples therapy with his wife, with Matt's new girlfriend, who is their therapist, which is awkward, but he doesn't know that. However, as that is happening, two NYPD cops discover where the man who Hector saved, Nick Torres, is living. Matt rushes to go get him out of the apartment and out the fire escape. When they confront Matt and attack him, beating him pretty savagely, and then finally putting a Sig Sauer P223 to his head, Matt breaks his arm and then beats the blue right off of both of those cops and knocks them both out cold, leaving a little bit of his blood at the scene. What I thought they were going to do is have one of them end up dead and now Matt's on trial. Not what ended up happening in episode 3. So, additional spoilers. Episode 3 involves Matt then in turn trying to get Hector Ayala off for murder and manslaughter and murder too, which apparently you can be charged for all three at the same time. I don't think that's actually the way it works, but suspension of disbelief for all of this stuff. The man that he ended up beating up, Powell, has figured out that Matt Murdock is actually capable of fighting, even though he's blind. Hector's defense ends up going awry when Nick Torres, the man that he saved, claims that he wasn't even at the subway platform when any of this happened. So Matt tries something unconventional. He outs his client as the White Tiger and then goes and takes affidavits from police and other people publicly to show what a hero he actually is, which does end up getting his client exonerated. Now, in the meantime, Fisk's wife, Vanessa, has his liaison go to the five families and try and get them under control a little bit, which has sort of upset Fisk that she's going over his head. But anyway, they're still in couples therapy. Fisk ends up very upset when the Ayala verdict does not go his way, and he isn't convicted for anything. So then he calls in Ben Urich's niece, her blog, so he can kind of use her to spin that story, as somebody in a Punisher uniform shoots Hector Ayala in the head. So White Tiger, well, this version of White Tiger, only gets like 2 episodes. Now, the chances that somebody else is going to take that mantle up by the end of it, I would guess pretty high. But we're 3 episodes in. Assuming this is going to be an 8-episode season, that's 5 episodes. They're still going to shoehorn in Muse. They've got this corrupt cop angle. They've got a bunch of threads going. My concern is that they're not going to wrap all of them up as neatly as the Netflix Daredevil did, and it's going to end up like another Disney Plus series. But so far, it hasn't happened. I've enjoyed it quite a bit. It's been pretty good. So we'll see where it ends up going. I am going to do a full review once the series wraps, but so far, pretty positive feelings about it. It feels like if they continue in this vein, that maybe MCU streaming TV is back. We'll see. Thanks everybody for watching. This has been the Doomcast. If you've got comments, thoughts, questions, anything that you want to add, throw them in the comments. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again next week. Peace.